When I turned the age of 8, my dad lost his business in a fire. Your conscious mind only has a 5% impact on your outcomes. Until you don't change yourself from the energetic blueprint level, nothing is ever going to change in your life. She comes to me and says that Bob Proctor's institution has made a decision that they will grant you this consulting practice for free. I am the only candidate in the entire world who has been given this scholarship. When you work on yourself, on your energetic blueprint, this is where the magic starts and this is where the magic happens. I now live the life that I desire. I wake up daily to do what it is that I love, and you can do the same. Today I'm just going to share about how my life completely transformed. I was born in a family with 3 siblings, and my dad had a very financially difficult life. And I think some of you who may be watching this may know me, may not know my story. But I want you to understand that when you become in charge of your life, when you take charge of your life, anything is possible for you. And this is something that I had never thought of. I never thought this would be possible for me because, as I said, I grew up in a household of 3 siblings and we were very financially challenged. And when I grew up, I struggled in the corporate world. And eventually, when I met my mentor, Bob Proctor, everything completely shifted for me. I landed a $30,000 opportunity without having the money. Now, let's go to the beginning. How did that happen? So, let me tell you a bit about my beginnings. As I said, I grew up in a family of 3 siblings, and we were living up to the age of 8. Our life was pretty okay. But when I turned the age of 8, my dad lost his business in a fire. Now, our business was quite stable, but when he lost it in a fire, he could not revive it. And after that incident, we had a complete financial downturn. And he and my mother both had to get jobs. Now, I want you to note that both him and my mother were not qualified. They didn't have college degrees. So you can imagine how difficult it must have been for them to get enough pay, right? You know how the remuneration is when you don't have degrees and you're supposed to go out there and work under somebody. So first of all, of course, the self-image took a big hit because being business owners into working under somebody is one of the hardest things that you can do in your life, right? You've never worked under somebody and then you have to go and work under somebody. And then the remuneration was just enough to us getting by. Now, with all these situations and circumstances, what I learned as I was growing up is that money and riches are for other people. They are not for us. They are not meant for us. Good things are meant for other people. And what this did to me is that when I was in school, I was not able to present myself in a confident manner. I lost all my confidence because I say that other people are better than me. That's what I grew up to believe. And I remember I couldn't even make friends in school, right? And I would watch my friends speaking on stage, taking part in debates, mingling with other people so comfortably. And I would always sit on the sidelines and watch them and wish that I would be able to speak like them. And this is something that really, really impacted me as a child because I felt like this can never be true for me because good things are meant for other people. And another thing that really impacted me also was decision making. Now, of course, when a family is experiencing a financial downturn, what normally happens is that because resources are restricted, they're limited, what happens is that not everybody can just put their hand up and say, oh, I want this, I want that, can I have this? So I could not do that. And what that did to me when I grew up was that I lacked decision-making abilities. So this is what I want you to understand, that when you are younger or in your current life, wherever it is, whatever phase of life that you are in, no matter what difficulty you might be facing, be it in your health, in your relationships, in your business, financially, or in your job or career, I want you to understand that there is always hope. Now, when I became a teenager, I still kept facing those problems because I remember in high school, again, I couldn't really mingle with friends very easily. I couldn't make friends very easily. Again, I still couldn't speak on stage. And I think it was the worst for me when I reached my time of going to university and my parents said that they could not afford to send me to a school internationally, and all my friends were going to international schools. So what did this to me is that it made things worse for me. It made me feel like really this is what life is about, that other people can have the good things and I can't have them. right? So I really appreciate everything that my parents did for me because I believe they did their best. But what I'm trying to explain here is that you must understand that there are things that happen in your childhood that are still impacting you as an adult. So what happened to me was, because my dad lost his business in a fire, he always told the three of us that just get jobs, don't go into business because it's too risky. When you get a job, you'll be able to get your income consistently on a monthly basis. There's money that's going to be coming into your bank account consistently for the rest of your life. And this is the idea that I had in my mind. So when I completed my university education, what did I do? I went and looked for a job. Now, I'm not trying to say that you should not look for a job, but the question here is that how do you want your life to really look, right? So what I did was I went and looked for a job because I was pushed into the idea that you must have consistent income every month. There must be some money coming into a bank account on a monthly basis. So I got into the corporate world, and remember what I told you, that I couldn't make decisions. I couldn't put my hand up and say that I want this and I want that. Now, what did that do to me in the corporate world? I was operating from fear. So I could not contribute my ideas into the corporate world, right? I could not tell people what I thought would be good for the company. I could not talk to my leaders because this is how I was conditioned to be. And again, I want to mention that I do not blame my parents for anything because they did their best to their ability. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there are certain conditions that you have undergone as a child that are actually shaping you as an adult. When we grow up, when we go out there, we're running our business, we have a certain job, and we wonder, why is it that everybody else is doing really well and I'm not able to do as well as them? Because I want you to know that I was an A student in school. I also did an MBA in between my career. So what happened is that because I lacked decision making skills, I was operating from fear. I could not even work with others effectively because I came from a state of poor self-image simply because of the way the conditions had happened in my childhood. So what all this did was that it impacted my performance, right? Despite having an MBA, despite being an A student in school. And I want you to also know that all the companies that I ever worked for, none of them left any leaf unturned when it came to training me. So what I want you to understand, that all the degrees that you have, all the skills and talents that you have in your life are not the major contributors in your income level. Because of all the factors that I have talked about, my lack of decision making skills, the fear, right? I was not able to earn the amount of money that I really wanted to earn. So my income kept stagnating because my performance was not as good as I wanted it to be. Now, another thing that I really faced in the corporate world was long hours of work and a lot of struggle. Now, where did that come from? So when my dad got a job after he lost his business in a fire, he started working for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I automatically picked these ideas up from my parents, and I thought that if I want to climb up the corporate ladder, I have to work really, really hard. So I thought that if I work very hard, my income is going to go up. So I kept putting in more hours, I kept putting in more effort. And I'm sure you can relate to this because this is what happens to most of us. And guess what? My income never changed. Now, what got interesting is that I saw other people who had the same number of qualifications, the same degree, and some of them were not even as qualified as I was, but they were earning more money. And this is what got me questioning. And believe me, over the span of 15 years that I was in the corporate world, I changed 8 jobs, thinking that the next one would pay me more. It would get better. I'd have more chances of getting promoted. But none of that actually happened. So I want you to understand that if you are somebody who's struggling, whether it's in your business, in your career, the change is definitely guaranteed if you decide to make the change. So how did I make the change in my life? This is what I want you to now listen to me very carefully about. So after 15 years of struggling in the corporate world, in about 2018, I lost my dad. So I took an emotional downturn and I began questioning my life. I said that, is it that all the negative things in life are just happening to me? Are these events only specific to me? Am I the only one suffering? And I'm sure that you've asked yourself these questions also, right? And you always keep pondering that is it just happening to me? And this is when I went to seek answers. I said that I'm going to look for answers I'm going to find out what the problem is. Why is it that this is just happening to me? And what do we do when we want to find out what exactly is happening to us? We go on YouTube, we talk to people, we read books. I did all of it, but I didn't find any answers until I met my mentor Bob Proctor in 2021. And mind you, I've never met him in person. I only met him online. And the minute I heard him speak, I knew that this is exactly what has happened to in my life. So I want you to understand that everything that's happening in your life is nothing but a layer of conditioning that you are undergoing. So no matter what struggles you are undergoing in your life, be it income, be it health, be it relationships, whatever it is in your business, let's say you're not able to attract the clients that you want, there is some layer that's called the subconscious mind in you that has an impact of a 95% on your results. So your subconscious mind impacts 95% of all your outcomes. And your subconscious mind holds something called your paradigm. Now, this is exactly what Bob Proctor explained to me. And I began to reflect back. So I had actually forgotten all these things that had happened to me. Because you know how we are, when we grow up, we just carry on with life, right? You know, I'm still that person that, I just need to get on with things. And I never wanted to sit down with myself and really reflect what it is that really happened that led me to whatever results I was experiencing in my adult life. And that's when Bob Proctor sat me down and said, Shalini, this is exactly what has been happening because of everything that you saw in your childhood. Now, again, I want to mention that I'm not blaming anybody here, but the behavior and patterns that you see in your childhood actually still have an impact in your adult life, all right? Now, I want you to understand that how the subconscious mind actually impacts you is from the behavioral level. Now, the deeper layer that actually impacts your results is called your energetic blueprint. So here I was having an MBA, having the best qualifications, trying to put in all these hours in my job, but my energetic blueprint is actually what was driving my results, meaning my income had stagnated because when I was growing up, I saw that my parents were struggling with money, right? So those are the ideas that I had in my subconscious mind. So that is how my behavior was driven. And then eventually the patterns in my energetic blueprint were driving my income and money results. So this is what Bob Proctor explained to me. He said to me, Shalini, but the great news is that despite you having built these ideas and patterns within yourself, the good news is that you can actually change them. And that's when it lit a bulb in my mind. I said, oh my God, my life can actually change. There is hope. And I immediately resonated with that information. So if you are listening to this video and if you resonate with this, that means this is the truth for you. Because I knew the minute I heard Bob Proctor speaking that this is the truth for me, right? So what did I do? I jumped onto his mentorship and I told him that, Bob, I really want to change my life. So when I heard his information, I said, I want to become a consultant with his institution. Now, he told me that you need an investment of $30,000. And I was like, I don't have the $30,000 because remember I said that I had jumped over 8 jobs in a span of 15 years. How was it going to be possible that I have $30,000? So he offered to mentor me in his mentorship programs, for which I had to find the investment, and over time I started working on myself. So what did I do? I started working at a subconscious level. I started changing myself at an energetic blueprint level. Now this is where I just want to take you over your 4 levels of existence, because this is where most people go wrong. Now when something is not working in our life, what do? We want to take more action, right? We want to do something about it. We want to implement a different strategy. We want to try in a different idea. But what I want you to understand is that until you don't change yourself from the energetic blueprint level, nothing is ever going to change in your life. All right. So this is the process that I underwent. Now, this is how we all exist. We all exist on 4 levels. There is a place from where we are taking action, right? And then we have something called our conscious mind. Now, your conscious mind is that part of your mind that first absorbs information in from your environment. You're always watching news. You're always engaged with social media. You're always talking to people. You have all these degrees, qualifications. You're constantly absorbing knowledge from in different areas of your life. Now, everything that you are absorbing from your environment first comes in through your conscious mind. And your conscious mind is also known as your intellectual mind. Now, your intellectual mind only has a 5% impact on your outcomes. Now, we get more degrees, we become smarter, we think of ourselves as intellectuals, that yes, I am an intellectual because I have a better degree, and I was that person. I want to learn more, I want to become better, I want more degrees. But guess what? None of that helped me propel in my life. So your conscious mind only has a 5% impact on your outcomes. And this is what Bob told me, that it doesn't matter whether you have an MBA or not. And I want to mention that Bob Proctor never had a degree. He was a high school dropout, and he prospered so much in his life simply because he targeted the right parts of himself in terms of his progress. All right. So the third layer that he taught me about now was this subconscious mind. So I talked about action. This is where most people go for. They implement new strategies, they go for new ideas. And then we have the conscious mind, which absorbs information through your environment, and it only has a 5% impact on your outcomes. And then he talked to me about the subconscious level. He said to me that all the ideas that you picked up in childhood are actually stored in your subconscious mind, and they form something called your paradigm. And this is where you drive your new behavior from. So whatever behavior that you are engaged in is coming from your subconscious mind. And then he taught me about the energetic blueprint. He said, Shalini, but there is a layer that goes beyond the subconscious mind, and this is called your energetic blueprint. And this is where your results are driven from. So the ideas that you hold in your subconscious mind basically form patterns in your body that are stored as emotions in your body, and until you don't let go of those patterns through processing, you'll never get the results that you desire in your life. All right. So for those of you who are successful, you are known as unconscious competence, because this is how you just generally work, right? Everything just works for you because you may have come from a background, that has wealth, that has wealth conditioning, that has success conditioning. There are these people who really, really prosper in businesses, right? Automatically. So these are unconscious competence because they have a programming of success and wealth and doing well in business. But then there are those of us who struggled through life. That's because of how the programming and the conditioning happened. So what I did is that I started working on my subconscious programming and my energetic blueprint. And this is where my transformation started happening. Now, remember, I told you that I actually got into his mentorship so that I could become a Proctor Gallagher consultant. So the original idea was that I would earn the $30,000 so that I could become a Proctor Gallagher consultant by being under his mentorship. Now, what I want you to understand is that because I started working at my energetic blueprint level, at the subconscious level, I eventually ended up meeting a lady called Cynthia Kersey, and I'd like to mention her on this video because she actually runs projects here in Kenya. She builds villages from scratch worth $30,000. So a village is built from scratch and it's provided with all the facilities, including education, water, food, nutrition, everything, so that people can become self-sustainable, right? The idea is to be able to educate young women and children who can grow up as businessmen and who can sustain themselves and the people around them. So she does this work through something called the Unstoppable Foundation. So I heard about her during Bob Proctor's memorial when he passed away on YouTube. And that lit a bulb in my mind, and I said I must get in touch with her, because while I am studying with Bob Proctor's institution, I'd love to work with her because I'm very passionate about this information. And I got in touch with her. I just wrote her a message on LinkedIn. She actually replied to me. We got on a call the next day, and she started asking me what I'd love to do with Bob Proctor's information in Kenya. And I started sharing my ideas with her, and I told her that I'd love to be a consultant, but I'm still trying to earn the money. So she told me that come up with your ideas and let's meet after another 2 weeks. So we met after another 2 weeks, and I started giving her my ideas as to what I'd love to do with this information here in my country, because this is life-changing information that can help anybody at any level. And she comes to me and says that Bob Proctor's institution has made a decision that they will grant you this consulting practice for free. And I was shocked. I still feel the goosebumps as I'm telling you this story here, because I am the only candidate in the entire world who has been given this scholarship, because they came and said to me that we want you to be the ambassador for this in Africa. And I believe that Bob's spirit is the one that granted this to me through their personnel in the organization. And that is how my life completely transformed. Now, what were the chances? And I still remember in 2014, while I was still trying to juggle my career in the corporate world, as I said, I jumped about 8 jobs, right? Now, I remember in 2014, an idea came to me and I said that I'd love to be a coach. But I had no idea what kind of a coach I wanted to become. And I had no idea how it was even going to happen. So this was an idea that I just had in my mind, and it seemed so far-fetched. And what I want you to note is that I wanted to become a coach with a world-renowned institution. I didn't want to become a coach with just any kind of institution. So this was my dream. And guess what? When I landed this consulting practice for $30,000 all for free, it just happened. So I had that idea in my mind, and I didn't know the how. But events unfolded because I started working on my energetic blueprint that actually led me to what I really wanted without investing a penny on it. And this is my message to all of you here today, that if you are somebody who is struggling through life, who feels that there is no hope, when you work on yourself, on your energetic blueprint, this is where the magic starts and this is where the magic happens. All you need to do is make a decision. So if this video resonated with you today, I'd love you to share it with whoever you think would benefit from it. And I'd love to invite you to join my community, my programs, by clicking on the links that have been provided so that I can help you live the life that you desire. Because remember, that is how it happened for me. I now live the life that I desire. I wake up daily to do what it is that I love, and you can do the same. Life does not have to be a struggle. Life can actually be what you want it to be, and you can enjoy and love it every single day.